Good morning. It's Thursday morning, and I have been driven inside my truck by the fierce wind outside. This is a first, but I have arranged to have the bridge in the background, so I'm not a slacker. I'm at the bridge, but I'm protected from the wind, and so are you. And I wanted to share with you, because it is Thursday, I wanted to share with you some wisdom from the book of Proverbs, the Proverbs of Solomon. It's in chapter 15, verse 22 or 23. And it goes like this. An apt answer is a joy to a man. A word in season, how good it is. So on Wednesday nights, including last night, we've been going through the book of James. And James has a lot to say about the tongue, about words. And he scolds the people in that letter. He scolds them for misusing their tongues. He says the tongue is a fire. It does a lot of damage. And of course, we know that that's true. We've talked about it in that study. But this proverb kind of flips the coin and talks about how words can be positive and healing and joyful. And when they are carefully thought out, carefully planned, and used intentionally for the glory of God. So that's what this proverb is talking about. It's also, by the way, it fits into the category of a synonymous proverb. A while ago, I mentioned that there are proverbs that are descriptive, that just tell you the way things are without making a moral comment on it. This is a proverb that's called a parallel proverb or a synonymous proverb, where Solomon basically says the same thing twice in a slightly different way. And so here's the proverb again. An apt answer is a joy to a man. A word in season, how good it is. Some commentators believe that the proverb immediately before this gives the context for understanding this one. And the proverb immediately before this talks about advisors and counsel. And then it goes on to talk about an apt answer and a word in season. Because back in the days that Solomon was writing, at the gate of the city, men would gather to have conversations, to talk about important issues, to settle disagreements among men and within families, and even make legal decisions, legal judgments. And so this may or may not be talking about that meeting at the gate of this city where someone makes an apt answer and it's just a joy. It doesn't really matter. The point of the proverb is that when we use our words carefully, prayerfully, and intentionally, they can bring joy to men and women, to our children, to our spouse, to our enemies. We talked about that on Tuesday. And words in season, there are really two parts, so let's take them one at a time. First, an apt answer. That is an appropriate answer that is well suited to the occasion. We sometimes go into situations with our mouths open. That's why James, by the way, tells us to be quick to hear and slow to speak. In other words, we should keep our mouths shut more often than we do, because we don't always say things that are appropriate. But an apt answer, when you go into a situation and you share, carefully share advice, or when you encourage someone, or when you correct someone, it is joyful. It's joyful to you because you've used your words wisely and God has used you, and it's joyful to the person that you're sharing with. An apt answer is a joy to a man. Here's the second part, said slightly differently. A word in season, how good it is. Now, I am officially today pronouncing the season of spring has come to New Hampshire. Yesterday was actually more spring-like than today's going to be, but it's still pretty balmy. And so I'm pronouncing that spring is here. And the seasons of New England really determine so much about our life. They determine how we'll dress, what we'll eat, where we'll go. And so they make change. And the same thing is true of our words when they're chosen very carefully. A word in season, when the season is right, the time is right, and you say the right thing at the right time, in the right season, God can use it to change another person, even their lives. And it can change you too. How good it is when we use our words carefully and bring healing and bring encouragement and give godly advice. So don't be afraid to do that. Just be quick to hear and slow to speak. An apt answer is a joy, and a word in season. How good it is. Have a great Thursday.